welcome to our podcast on emerging learning technologies. Today, we're diving into the world of innovative tools reshaping education. But first, what exactly are emerging learning technologies and how are they transforming traditional classroom settings? Today, we have Jim LaVere to help us discuss the potential of AI in education. Please tell us about yourself.
I've worked in education since 1999. I've served in various capacities across the pre-K through 20 educational continuum. And I've been formally, I've been a tech leader since 2005. So I've been more of a leadership role.
Great. So in your own words, what is the definition of artificial intelligence?
From my perspective, I think artificial intelligence is the use of multiple algorithms within a software solution that both interprets and generates responses based upon human query prompts. And those prompts could be input from a textual or vocal formats, as well as the responses back from the software.
Have you been working with AI in your new position here?
Not directly. I've been more kind of dabbling here and there, but nothing really formal.
Okay. How is it currently being integrated into educational fields? Any examples that you've directly seen being used, and are there various forms?
I can see AI being used in a variety of ways, ethically, of course, meaning that not leveraging AI to do the work for the student, but rather providing a way for the student to leverage AI to generate responses and to query prompts within the problem-solving process. That way the students can then utilize and synthesize their responses using the input from AI.
Okay. And on the topic of personalized learning, how could AI accommodate diverse student needs, abilities, and modifications within the classroom environment? And could you provide specific examples of how this technology tailors educational content to meet individual student requirements?
I think the ethical use of AI needs to be addressed prior to introducing students to AI as a topic, okay? That way it sets the kind of ground rules. Students would then need solid examples of how to use or leverage AI within education, and in order to follow that model is used as a best practice when leveraging that tool set. Okay, one example might be how to use AI to condense a large section of text and distill the underlying meaning or understanding or message for a student that may have limitations and may have just fatigue from reading that amount of information, or simply not being able to comprehend it.
Right. On the topic of accessibility, how can AI make education more accessible to students in the general population?
If we set clear expectations and develop and follow policies and provide examples or models to the general population, AI could be made available. Currently, it's kind of an experimental kind of tool set that's being leveraged in individual cases, but nothing really. It's being deployed wholeheartedly across the school.
Right.
So.
Could you address the same question concerning students with learning disabilities or even English language learners?
I think AI could assist special education based on their own individual needs. As the AI continues to develop and to self-learn, it begins to understand the student a little bit more and it helps them address their specific limitations or difficulties. So it could act as like a translator or even tutor in that regard. Mm-hmm. So in an example, like with English language learners, students could actually interact with an AI solution in their native language and then work with that tool to generate something in English, for example. That helps both the student and the instructor as well.
How can AI-driven text-to-speech and adaptive learning interfaces enhance inclusivity in educational settings?
I think that the need for one-on-one aides or teachers reading content to students or serving in the context of a menuensis or recording those student responses could be eliminated. And that really frees the teacher up to really work more deeply within the context and the content with those students. So again, it's being leveraged more like a tutor. I think that would be a great use for that.
Could you discuss specific features or strategies implemented within these technologies to ensure accessibility for diverse learners, including those with visual impairments, language barriers, or learning disabilities?
So I'll go with the visual impairment. So AI, a student can be working with AI and can ask the solution. Hey, can you describe the photo? Like what's in the photo? The AI software can then articulate or convey that information back to the student, giving them a deeper understanding of what is within the photograph itself, and then the student can then come away with the meaning of what's really happening in it.
That's great. What are some key ethical and social implications associated with adaptation of AI technologies into education?
So we've all watched Terminator, right?
Yep.
So we know how that ends up. All right. Yep. So I think the misconception of AI in education, or in general, is really counterproductive to really what it is. So if we model those practices of how to best utilize AI, we provide further opportunities for authentic learning for students. And again, reinforcing the idea that AI isn't doing the work for the student; it's simply there to help them.
How do we teach ethical use? Modeling
it and reinforcing the idea that each student has to really kind of take ownership of their own learning, fostering that growth and in understanding the differences between producing authentic responses versus something that an AI solution would then generate. Distinguishing those within the educational setting is really important, so they understand what's real and what's not. But they need to understand, bottom line, it's their responses to a question. They're simply utilizing and synthesizing that information from an AI solution.
Right, absolutely. How will AI change the role of teachers within the classroom?
Teachers are always the content expert. The AI is not there to replace them, it's there to assist them, much like a teaching assistant or even a tool. I think of even in my own practices as an instructor, I taught graphic arts. I would use Illustrator to digitally create visual art, illustrated pieces. It's not replacing that, it's just a tool to convey that.
Right.
So I see no difference.
On the topic of future challenges, if we were to implement AI technologies as the norm into the classroom, how would we implement teacher training? Should it be universal? Do we roll out standards? What do you think?
I think that's a great question. I think each district faces their own challenges based on their own given culture. So when you look regionally, we all have, in New York State, we have regional information centers, and we could really kind of lean on them to develop and offer trainings around this topic. We could even do it geographically within our own regions. We could partner with other schools and kind of co-develop some things. But I think really like model school staff would be best leveraged in that capacity to not only address things regionally, but to come into districts and work with teachers and students directly with those tools.
That's great. How do we deal with the generational digital divide?
Great question. I think first and foremost, we have to understand where they are and have that ability to reach them where they are. Develop a common language, bring that foundation underneath everyone, and then go forward together.
Awesome. So with some positives that I believe AI could definitely bring to the table, how do you anticipate AI technologies will contribute to the development of critical thinking skills in learners?
I think that technical discernment piece is really, there's digital literacy and then there's like a digital or technical discernment. I think it comes as the next step. It's like the difference between wisdom and knowledge, discerning between fact and where to apply it. I think is really important. And I see that as just part of the continuum. It's just where we are.
Could you discuss computer science and digital fluency standards and how AI could fit into that?
I think in many ways, computer science and digital fluency standards are already being integrated into the classroom. We could interchange a word like edit with decode when we tell our students to go in and edit their essays and so on. You decode that. You could leverage an AI tool to decode that narrative that was generated by the student, and they can go in and understand how to better phrase or structure sentences, not necessarily depending on that tool, but learning from that tool in order to apply it to their own practices.
Absolutely. I attended the last NICE annual conference, and there was a lot of talk about job opportunities with AI, including the creation of prompt engineers, in which they would be responsible for designing and optimizing prompts used to interact with AI models effectively. What other new job opportunities do you think will be available in the future because of ELTs, and how can we ready our students for the jobs of tomorrow?
I think really we got to start with exposing students to what AI technologies are currently available and how they're being leveraged. Start them out there with a fundamental understanding of where we are now. And then as things continue to grow, as AI continues to self-learn, we continue to learn how to leverage it. We'll be able to better grow together and improve education, and then refine our authentic responses as that tool becomes better and better, and it helps us become stronger.
Through your experience, what skills do students need for the jobs of tomorrow?
Right now, given the context of technology, I think having a technical foundation, the technical literacy of understanding specific file formats and how they interchange. You wouldn't want to use a PDF for like a 3D model output.
Right.
You want to understand where those file formats fit and where to best use them. I mean, that's just like an interchange. That's identification and an application. And I think I see AI as no different. AI is just there to kind of help connect those dots. Not robbing that student of that authentic learning, but to kind of help them draw those conclusions in order to move forward.
Absolutely. So how can individuals that see the benefits to AI implementation advocate for the technology to use to assist teachers, admin, and parents?
I think by ethically modeling those experiences and showing how AI is improving the student learning opportunities. We all talk about ROI, or return on investment. In education, as you know, there's like within New York State, we have a Regents test, and we look at that as like a litmus test for do students know content. So when we start studying the impact of how AI is being leveraged or integrated in conjunction with traditional learning, traditional in the sense of what we've been doing in education. But looking at those differences in the areas of improvement, or areas we need to work on, and it's a work in progress. So I think that's the only way we're going to move forward. So
do you believe something as simple as parent courses and holding informational settings would be most effective in promoting transparency, accountability, and inclusivity in the advancement of AI?
I think it's essential to have transparency in education. And I think too, you may have parents that are really hesitant or intimidated with technology. You may have parents that are very, very fluent, others that hardly touch it. Again, reaching them where they are and building that community and to help them grow along is really important. So I think it's our responsibility as an institution to do that.
Absolutely. Success stories. Could you share some real-world examples of how AI is being used effectively in an educational setting, either via teacher, parents, students, administrators, or in higher education?
Sure. So within AI, I'll use a teacher as an example within K-12. Teachers, I know personally, teachers have used AI to help generate rubrics, to generate tests, to do those things, much like a virtual assistant. But just because it was generated through AI doesn't mean it's the gold standard. It's really up to you as an educator, as the content expert and the director of the student's learning, to really refine those outcomes and kind of polish that, so to speak, to make sure it's conveying what you want.
Right.
So.
Right. So, any closing thoughts or remarks or?
I think technology in and of itself is never the answer. I know in past experiences, I've actually heard this. Oh, just give the kid a computer; they'll know what to do.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
That's not setting them up for success. So we need to promote the intentional use of technology with the intention of having stronger outcomes. Leveraging that tool to convey that message and to refine it and to master that skill set, I think, is really important. AI in and of itself offers humanity far more than the perceived misconceptions that exist with it right now. And I think we need to not be so scared of it and really kind of embrace it across our culture.
Well, great. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Hopefully those of you listening have some takeaways from this and are more informed about the positives of implementing AI into your educational setting. Until next time, this is Tiffany Vinette signing off.